Hi everyone, it's Christos here, aka The Frage. And say hello to my little friend. This is Ellie the elephant. This is the elephant in the room, as they say. She'll be joining us for this demonstration. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to do this. What I want to do today is actually run through the upgrades on my Fender Player Series made in Mexico precision bass. You'll recall that last week when I posted a video, at the conclusion of it, after I did the review with all the stock and standard equipment and some of the features, the specifications, and some of the items that came out from the factory, I did mention at the conclusion of the video that I was going to upgrade the bridge, the pickups, and the internal potentiometers and wiring as well. So today is actually that, reviewing the upgraded version of this Player Precision bass. So the main three things that I've done is, you'll see here I've added a Hipshot, that's the brand of the company, Hipshot, and this particular model is called a KickAss bridge. The Seymour Duncan £1/4 pickups, and also the ObsidianWire potentiometers and wiring itself. So let's start off with the actual Hipshot bridge. So this particular bridge, as you can see, when I take out the stock standard bridge that came with the bass, straight away you'll see that it is just such a beefier piece. There's a lot of engineering that goes into this. So it's not cheap, but I believe that it's very well worth the money. And you can see that, you see the actual frame of the bridge, the stock bridge that came from the Fender factory, is much thinner compared to the thickness of this particular bridge, the KickAss. So what I'm going to do is just run through this, but before I do that, you need to be aware of that when you remove the bridge, whether it's replacing it or just removing the existing bridge because you want to upgrade it or maintain it, wash, clean it and wipe it down and so forth, there is a routed cavity underneath the bridge, and from that routed cavity is an exposed wire. That wire makes contact with the bridge itself, and that wire runs to and connects to the input jack, and that is the ground wire for the bridge. You need to make sure that when you're replacing or placing back the existing bridge, that it makes contact with that ground wire. Otherwise you will get grounding issues, and that can be, for example, when you're not touching your guitar, you hear a lot of frequency and static from your amplifier, and then when you touch it again, that goes away. So what you don't want, for example, here now I'm not touching my bass, and there's barely any noise, even though there's I've got it at a pretty decent volume. Now, just to run through some of the features of this particular Hipshot KickAss bridge, the great thing is that you'll see that there's 5 screw holes, just like the same as the bridge that came from the factory. And the great thing is that it's a direct replacement. The holes in the Hipshot KickAss bridge fall directly in line with the stock bridge, so you don't have to drill new holes, you don't have to do any work, you just remove it and put the screws in. Now what I would recommend, folks, is use the original screws that came from the factory, because the screws that come from with the KickAss bridge, they are slightly thicker and the threads are slightly further apart. And what I didn't want to do was change the thread pattern inside the wood of the body of the bass. What I also want to let you know is that each of the bridge saddles comes with its own hexagon screw, so you can actually lower the bridge saddle or raise it depending on what your preferred action is. The beauty is also, I don't know if you can see it, that there's a little, on each bridge saddle, there's a little hexagon screw that allows you to move the brass saddle inserts either further out or closer together. So you can not only raise the string or lower it, but you can also bring the proximity of the strings closer together or further apart. It's really brilliant. And it comes stock with the brass saddle inserts, and they can be removed in preference for the steel inserts, which you can buy. And from what I've seen and what I've heard, the steel inserts just give more of a punchier, more clearer tone. This is more of a warmer tone and resonance using the brass saddles. One thing I will also let you guys know is that when you're stringing a guitar, in the scientific world of guitar playing and bass playing, there's this thing called a witness point. And that's basically where the string makes contact and comes over the saddle. And by pressing down the string, what you're doing is you're contouring the string to the natural shape of the bridge saddle. So what happens is the bridge saddle may be here, but a string may come over it like that. But what the witness point does, by pressing it down, you actually contour the string to sit more naturally on the bridge saddle. So that's just something to know. So now, what I did find is that with this particular bridge, it actually sits, even though it's more chunky, it actually sits lower than the stock bridge that comes with the base from the factory. I did mention last week that if I've got it here, I think I've got it here. Yeah. When I did buy the bass, I did notice that the string action was very, very high and the neck was very dipped. And which is, you know, expected because the guitars come all the way from Mexico. It's probably been in the hulls of planes or ships and it's been exposed to cold weather. It's undergone different climatic changes. At one point, I actually thought I may need to include a shim. And what a shim is, you'll see it, that it's a wedge-shaped piece of maple. You see it's got the holes that fit with the screws on that connect the body to the neck. And what it does is it tilts the neck downward, and that way it allows the action, especially from around the sort of 7th, 8th fret and onward, to lower, because it's bringing this part of the neck up. But what I did find is that once I fitted the Hipshot KickAss bridge, if anything, I had to raise the bridge saddles because the string action was that low, which wasn't a problem. It actually worked out really good. And if I can urge you in terms of intonation, what I did was when I had the stock bridge on, I actually put the KickAss bridge next to it and aligned the distance equal to each of the string saddles. So when it came time to actually replacing and fitting the KickAss bridge, I didn't have to spend a great deal of time setting the intonation. And the intonation basically makes sure that here you've got an open E, you've got an F. Here you've got another F. So it's 12 notes up 12 fretted notes up the length of the neck. And when you say 12 notes, it takes into account flats and sharps. You want to make sure that that F is in tune with this F. If this is flat, you bring the bridge saddle forward, sharp, you bring it back until you get it right. And I must say, I got it right the first time, so I'm very thankful of that. What people do is they pluck the open string and then fret the 12th note to check the intonation, that the 12th note is in the same tune as the open string. So that's the KickAss bridge. It's made in Korea. Like I said, you can buy steel bridge saddle inserts, and you also do get a few extra spare parts. For example, you get a shorter length screw just in the event that you have to lessen the length because you're bringing a saddle all the way back because of the intonation and so forth. So it is a lovely piece of kit. It's very, very well engineered and I highly recommend it. And I see a lot of people on YouTube buying a KickAss bridge, let's say for the cheaper basses like your Squires, especially like your classic Vibes and so forth, and really modding up a cheaper bass rather than going out and spending thousands and thousands of dollars for like an American Professional and so forth. So now let's move on to the pickups. So these are the Seymour Duncan quarter pounds, and you'll see straight off the cuff that the pole pieces of the Seymour Duncan are actually bigger, noticeably bigger than the stock pickups. These are ALNICO magnets, which is aluminium, nickel and cobalt. And what I did was, when I took the scratch plate off, I actually made sure that these plastic pickup covers fitted inside the inserts. This one fitted pretty good. This one was a bit of a tight job, but we got there in the end. So it's always good that when you're doing modifications like this, folks, that you're doing a few little tests along the way, just to make sure that you don't clip all your wires out and realize something doesn't fit, and you've got to solder everything back, and you've got to get it right, and so forth. So these particular pickups, I must say, they are more punchier. They've got more tonal flexibility, more harmonics. It just really gives you more headroom and just jumps out at you. The note jumps out of the actual amplifier. and I find that I don't have to pick as hard or use my fingers as hard. My background is I'm a guitarist, and I've only the last month or so I've taken up bass guitar. So my natural playing style is more picking, and I'm slowly coming around to using my fingers. So, and what I did was I used underneath these pickups, there's foamy sponges, hard foam sponges that allow you that when you unscrew the pickup, if you want it closer to the string, the sponge pushes the pickup upwards. I kept them. The actual Seymour Duncans do come with their own foamy padded pieces, but I used them because they were wider and they just seemed to complement the actual pickup itself. Again, I used the same screws from the factory to make sure that the threads from the screws and the Seymour Duncan screws didn't alter the thread patterns in the body. So now, and finally, we move on to the actual ObsidianWire piece. So this is a company in New Zealand, and what I'll do is I'll just show you. So this is one of the ObsidianWire pieces that I've bought for my Les Paul, and you'll see this here. You've got your volumes and your tones, but you've got these little press down clamps that open up the gap in here that allow you to insert the wire of all the different componentry, whether it's the pickups, it's the toggle switch, or it's the input jack. And underneath here, you do also get, from this particular purchase, you do get the toggle switch and you do get the input jack as well. So, and also you get a nice little cute Obsidian wire bag with all the nuts and the washers. So they really do cater for everything that you need. And the great thing is that all you have to do is any of the wires that you put into those clamps, you just use a little thin single-headed screwdriver, press down, insert the wire, depress the clamp, and then just pull out a bit. And if the wire's not coming out, then it's in there, it's good. If it comes out, you just need to try again. The great thing about Obsidian wire is that you don't need to buy a soldering iron. And the good thing about that is soldering irons can be very expensive, and they can also require additional costs. You need to buy the wires to singe your different wires, than like the lead wires to singe your actual pickup wires, or ground wires, or toggle wires, and so forth. And also being exposed to the fumes of the soldering iron is not very healthy for you. You know, professionals say that when you use a soldering iron, use an open room, ventilation, and so forth. Plus, it's also good for the environment that we don't use it as well. So you're starting to see a lot more of these companies coming out into the market using solderless technology to, you know, upgrade your pickups. And for me, I've never done anything like this. I'm an absolute novice, but I must say that the quality of the Obsidian wire is fantastic. It fits directly, again, just like the KickAss bridge, it fits directly into the pickguard. And then there's a wire that for the input jack that feeds into the main PCB. As you saw here, there's like a PCB board or printed circuit board that everything's attached and already soldered to for you. So in light of that, I guess we should do some sound samples. What I've done is I've replaced the original strings, and I've got Ernie Ball Slinky strings. These are 45, 65, 80 and 100 microns, and I must say I love them. I really do. And the benefit, guys, is doing something like this really saves you good money, especially in Australia. If I were to take this to a guitar repairer to do this for me, they'd probably charge me about $150, you know, some pretty serious money. And that's pretty much how much I would pay if I replaced the stock tuners. The stock tuners I've left, they do the job. I've got nothing, you know, nothing bad to say. But at some point I may upgrade them with the Hipshot equivalents. The model number that fits directly on these is the HB7 Hipshot, if you're wanting to know. So what I'll do is I'll just do some sound samples initially. I haven't warmed up or anything, and I'll just start off using the pick and setting different levels of the volume and the tone and mixing them all together. So now I've got the volume and tone on full, and I'll just play just random stuff, you know. So now I'll just turn the tone to about halfway. And what I did notice is that the tone on the stock equipment, I literally had to turn it all the way to the end, and it was that last sort of semi-spin that really kicked in the tone potentiometer on this bass. But now I find that I don't have to turn it as much to get the same effect. So and now this is with the tone all the way down. So what I'll do is I'll turn the volume down just a little bit, and you'll notice that that's probably less than a quarter of a tone, and you're already noticing a difference in the volume. But you're not losing the clarity at the same time. The signal doesn't get weak, so which is the great thing about this particular setup. It's really good. And then if I turn down the tone a little bit, and now I'll just play randomly, just using my fingers. And if I turn the tone down to about halfway, and I'll turn the tone all the way down. And I'll turn the tone all the way back up and just turn the volume down a little bit. So that's my review of my upgraded Made in Mexico Player Precision Series bass. I really hope you like it. If you like the work that I'm doing, please subscribe. I'm going to be putting out videos pretty regularly. Hit the like button. If you like what I do, leave some comments. If you don't, leave me some constructive criticism. I'm more than happy to listen to it. But I really want to thank you all. I really feel blessed that I can do this, and I really hope that these videos inspire people to pick up a musical instrument, whether it's going out and buying a new one, meeting up with friends and jamming and so forth, or just dusting off that old guitar that's been in the attic for God knows how long. So with that, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. Ellie says goodbye, and I'll see you guys soon in the next video. All right, thank you.